Hey there guys, JWF1 here, and today I am going to be doing my F1 2016 re-predictions. Now, this was originally meant to be a dual commentary with somebody else, but I was unable to find one as everybody was busy, so I've decided to do it on my own. But luckily, I'll do a dual commentary in the future. So you remember, I think it was in August, or was it last month? I can't remember. I made a driver prediction for F1 2016, and, well, let's be frank, they were well off. Simple, really. Some drivers ended up staying where they were, and, well, it was just a mess in my predictions, really, and pretty much everybody else's predictions. So it's time for me to make a re-predictions, I think, and hopefully get it right this time. So, without further ado, let's get on with it, shall we? So, let's start off with Mercedes. We don't need to discuss them. Already settled, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg once again. I already explained my reasons in the previous prediction video, which was that Lewis has signed a new 3-year deal and Nico has one more year on his contract. Whether Nico will stay after 2016 is another mystery, but we don't need to worry about that yet. So that's pretty much Mercedes done, so let's move on to the next team, which is Ferrari. And Sebastian Vettel was already settled. He had 2 more years on his contract with Ferrari, and it seemed certain that he was going to stay. But over a lot of the time during last month and a lot of the previous months, there was a rumour about who his teammate would be, and it turned out that his teammate would in fact be Kimi Räikkönen for another year, turning out that he did sign that extra option to stay at Ferrari for another year, which was quite mixed, but because people expected it to be Bottas at the team, but pretty much I think next year will be Kimi's last year, unless he does well, which I highly doubt at this rate, but who knows. So let's move on to Williams Mercedes. Even though they haven't got a contract with an engine next year, it is more than likely going to be Mercedes again. And they recently confirmed at the Italian Grand Prix that they have kept hold of their drivers of Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas for another year. Massa was always certain. I predicted that right. Massa's done a good job and is currently in 5th in the Drivers' Championship ahead of his teammate. So he's doing a better job than last year. So good on you, Massa. And Valtteri Bottas, well, it was inevitable after Kimi was announced at Ferrari. It was always going to be inevitable that he was going to keep hold of the Williams seat. So I do kind of still feel sorry for Bottas, but after Raikkonen was confirmed at Ferrari, it was pretty much expected that he was going to stay put at Williams. So that's that. So let's move on to the next team, which is Red Bull. There. Now, this is a team that's been in the news a lot recently about their engines, because recently it's been announced by Helmut Marko that they are splitting with Renault after I think it's an 8-year partnership. A very successful one as well. 4 drivers and 4 constructors championships, all with Sebastian Vettel, and an end of an era for Red Bull. So what engine do I think they'll have? Well, it's going to be Ferrari, isn't it? I mean, Mercedes will not lend him an engine, and Ferrari's Marussia Arrivabene is willing to give him an engine, so it seems inevitable that Ferrari will be the team that supplies them. I mean, they've had Ferrari engines before in 2006, so there's no reason why they can't go back to them for 2016. So, but the question is surrounding what engine spec they'll have, whether it's a 2015 or a 2016 engine. To be honest, I think it will be a 2016 engine. I honestly think that Ferrari have the resources to make a 4th 2016 engine. I mean, they're supplying it to Sauber, even though they don't have a contract with a Ferrari engine next year. It seems more than likely that they're going to end up with a Ferrari engine next year. And they're also supplying a 2016 engine to Haas as well, their heavily partnered team. So I think Ferrari, seen as a big company, I think they will have the resources to make a 4th engine, 4th 2016 engine. 2 Red Bull, not sure about Toro Rosso, but I think they'll definitely have one for a 4th engine, maybe not a 5th. So, in terms of their drivers, I don't see that changing. I think it'll be Daniel Ricciardo and Denny Kvyat again. Daniel's already confirmed he has 1 more year on his contract, and Kvyat, even though he got a shaky start to the season, he's done a fantastic job, and especially the podium he got in Hungary and the pace he showed at Singapore, I really don't see why Red Bull would get rid of him. I mean, there's been rumours about Fernando Alonso possibly joining from McLaren a couple of days ago, but all I say to that is,
Warning, bullshit alert.
Yeah, that word. So Red Bull, Ricciardo and Kvyat again. Next up, Force India. Engine, Mercedes, even though there's nothing confirmed at the moment, it's more likely that they'll have a Mercedes engine again. But question is, well, no question really. It's already been confirmed, the driver lineup. They're going to have Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg once again. Nico Hülkenberg signed a 2-year extension at the Italian Grand Prix. The weekend building up to the Italian Grand Prix. The week building up to the Italian Grand Prix, I should say. And Sergio Perez recently announced this past week that he is staying at Force India for another year. So, even though there was speculation about him moving to the Enstone-based team Lotus or Renault, whichever one it's going to be, those rumours are now gone because he's staying at Force India. So that's Force India pretty much settled. Next up is Renault. Yeah, you heard me right. Renault, not Lotus. I think it will be Renault. Reason being, Lotus are currently in financial straws. I mean, you've seen recently in Suzuka, they didn't get to the track till Thursday, and they've only just built the facility. So it clearly shows their troubles. Plus, they have to go to court on Monday for an unpaid tax bill, which they didn't pay, which clearly shows their struggles. But it's pretty clear. I mean, there's been rumours that they may pull out as a result of this, but I don't see it happening. Renault will buy the team. They said that they're not supplying any engines to any customer teams, so it's inevitable that they want to buy Lotus. Plus, they have lots of money as well. Renault, big company, and they clearly want to buy the Enstone team again, and it'll be nice to see Renault back on the grid as a Formula 1 team. You know, the 2 championships they had with Fernando Alonso, it makes sense. But who will the drivers be? Well, previously, I said it would be Grosjean and Maldonado if it were Lotus, but off camera, when it looked like it was going to be Renault, I said Grosjean and Palmer. But it's been official that Pastor Maldonado will be staying at the team for another year. Whether it'll be Lotus or Renault, Maldonado will still be there. There was rumours that on the Friday prior to the Singapore Grand Prix, apparently Renault completed their deal to take over Lotus. Nothing's been confirmed, but it's looking like that. And apparently some sort of agreement was made to keep Maldonado at the team for another year. But a big question is, who will be his teammate? Now, you may be surprised about this. Well, it's not really a surprise now, but a lot of you don't. Where on earth have you been? Because it's been rumoured, heavily rumoured, that Grosjean is on his way out. Probably because of the financial issues, and plus, even though he's a French driver and a French team, he probably wants a challenge because it's very clear that he wants to be at a certain team in 2017. So we'll come back to that later. But who will be his teammate then if it's not going to be Grosjean? People have been suggesting it's Esteban Ocon. It would make sense. I mean, he's a French driver. Renault's a French business. Pretty much similar sponsors, so it makes sense. But I don't see it happening because I think Renault is one of those teams who wants experience and a bit of investment as well. And I don't think Ocon has the higher money than what the other 2 candidates have. You would have heard that Perez was also rumoured, but he's staying at Force India for another year, so that's out the question. So it leaves 2 more people. One of them is Jean-Eric Vergne. Now, also understandable, he's French, experienced, carries a lot of investment, and it would make sense for Renault to have him. But I think he's committed to Formula E, and also, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually checked the dates for both the Formula E 2015-16 calendar and the F1 Provisional 2016 calendar, and I've noticed that 2 of the races of Formula 1 and Formula E are going to clash with each other. So, unless Formula E push back 2 of those dates, or push forward 2 of those dates so that Vergne can make his way into Formula 1 with either Haas or Renault, I don't see Vergne in a Formula 1 car next year because I think he'll be committed to Virgin in the Formula E season, which starts next month, actually, on the 24th of October. So, who do I think will be his teammate? Well, I think he'll be the second candidate who's rumoured, and that is Kevin Magnussen. You would have heard recently that Kevin, apart from the fact that he's broken his left hand, which will be recovered pretty soon, Kevin is looking like he's going to be released from McLaren, and I do believe that. And it's clear that Magnussen wants a seat in Formula 1 next year, and he's clearly not going to get it with McLaren. So I think the only option he has, I mean, there was Haas on the table, but I think that's now out of the question. So Renault seems to be the choice for him. I think Magnussen will end up being at Renault next year, and it's clearly what he needs. I mean, that's what Renault wants, experience as well. Even though he's had a year experience, it's still experience. So I think that's how Renault's going to go. Maldonado and Magnussen, and I do believe it's going to be Renault and not Lotus. So let's move on then to the next team, which is Toro Rosso. Now, they will not have Renault engines either. So even though there's rumours about them having Honda engines next year, all I say to that is...
Warning, bullshit alert.
Yep, again, that word. Because simple, really. Why? Have they not seen how the engine's been performing this year? I think McLaren will want to, and Honda will want to develop it further and not supply any teams their engine yet until they've got a good enough engine that can compete. So I don't see that happening. So I think they will go back to Ferrari engines. But do I think it will be a 2016 spec engine? No, I think it will be a 2015 spec engine. Simple, really. Junior team to Red Bull, and I think Red Bull wants to be in front of Toro Rosso, so it kind of makes sense that the sister team should have, this year's Ferrari engine, but and not a 2016 engine. They'll probably more likely get Ferraris that they've got this year. So in terms of drivers, it's going to remain the same. Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz Jr. Max Verstappen has a year left on his contract, and Sainz, it's more likely he's going to stay. Both of them's done an amazing job. There was rumours about Pierre Gasly maybe joining the team, but I don't see that happening. I think it's going to remain the same for Verstappen and Sainz Jr. It's going to be interesting to see what Verstappen does in 2017. I mean, it's been rumoured that he may go to Ferrari, but I don't see that happening, because why would you join Toro Rosso if you want to join Ferrari next? I think you'd want to join Red Bull, wouldn't you? That's Toro Rosso for me. So next up is Sauber. Now their engines, it's going to be Ferrari. It's been rumoured that they may have Honda engines as well, but again, don't see that happening. I think it will be a Ferrari 2016 engine. And the drivers already confirmed, Ericsson and Nasser. Nasser's done a good job, but Ericsson only there for his money, I believe. So he's kind of lucky to be there, but Nasser's done a good job. I mean, yeah, the car's not great, but he's still delivering the performances. So that's Sauber done. Next up, McLaren Honda. Even though there's been rumours Honda may pull out, I don't see it happening. McLaren Honda is going to be the same next year in terms of engines, that is, because where would McLaren go after that? They can't go to Ferrari, they can't go to Mercedes, and they can't go back. And they can't go to Renault because Renault won't supply any engines. So Honda seems to be the choice for them. In terms of drivers, Fernando Alonso is definitely there for starters. He has a year left on his contract, plus an extra season if he wants to for 2017. But who will be his teammate? A lot of speculation has been about Jenson Button's future. At one point, according to the Telegraph, he was set to retire. But during a press conference, it's now more likely that he's going to stay. And I honestly believe that due to the words he says. He's in good talks with the team. So it's looking like he's more likely going to stay. So I think that's going to be the case. Alonso and Button once again for 2016. But I think next year will be Button's last year. Like Raikkonen at Ferrari, I think next year will be Button's last year in Formula 1. So... so Alonso and Button again at McLaren. So sorry, Stoffel. I really want you in Formula 1 next year, but I just don't see it at the moment. Unless Button says, I want to retire, then you'll be at McLaren. But right now, I just don't see it. So let's move on then to Marussia, or Mana Marussia. Now, engine, Mercedes. Mercedes, it's very clear. Mercedes clearly want a customer team, a feeder team. 2, it's clear that they want their test driver to be there and they want a good link with America. So who will be the drivers? Well, the fact they said test driver means one thing. Pascal Wehrlein, I think, will definitely be there. He's leading the DTM Championship, and he's done a lot of tests with Force India and Mercedes. So he's got Formula 1 experience behind him. So I think it will make sense if Wehrlein is at Marussia. Mercedes are desperate to get him in Formula 1 next year, and I believe that's the team they'll want to push him at. Plus, I can't wait to see what Marussia can do with a Mercedes if that's the case. But who will be his teammate? Now, you would have heard American linked, so you may think, Alexander Rossi. Only thing is, I think it'll be Will Stevens still. Will's done a good job. the car's not great, but at the same time, they're not doing too badly, and Will's been there collecting the points. I think Rossi will be at the team, but just as a Friday practice driver and maybe get a promotion later on. But right now, I just see it being Stevens and Wehrlein for now. But you never know. But for now, Stevens and Wehrlein. And finally, Haas. Yes, it was going to be an 11-car team. I said 12-car for ART for being there, but the 12th team, the 2 candidates failed, so it's going to be an 11-team grid next year with 22 cars. So, Haas then. They all have Ferrari 2016 engines, heavily partnered with Ferrari, and a heavy investment with them. So who will be their drivers? Well, Romain Grosjean's going to be one. They are announcing a driver on Tuesday, and I believe it will be Romain Grosjean who's going to be the guy who's going to be announced, because for reasons. Grosjean wants a Ferrari seat in 2017 when Kimi retires, more likely. And if he joins Haas, which is looking like he will be on the top of Ferrari's hit list for replacing Raikkonen to partner alongside Vettel. So it will make sense for Grosjean to go to Haas to get that year with the team that's connected with Ferrari, so then he can make the jump for 2017. So Grosjean will be there. In terms of his teammate, Jean-Eric Vergne, no, I don't think it'll be Vergne. It will be Esteban Gutierrez, Mexican money with Claro, Mexican Grand Prix, so it will make sense. And also Ferrari test driver as well, so it will make sense if somebody from the Ferrari driver program joins the team, and I think it'll be Gutierrez. So yeah, that is my driver lineup then. So let's remind you of my driver lineup then. So Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen. Williams, Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas. Red Bull, Ferrari, Daniel Ricciardo and Danny Kvyat. Force India, Sergio Perez and Nico Hulkenberg. Renault, not Lotus, Renault, Pastor Maldonado and Kevin Magnussen. Toro Rosso, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz Jr. Sauber, Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasr. McLaren Honda, Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button. Marussia, Will Stevens and Pascal Wehrlein. And Haas, Romain Grosjean and Esteban Gutierrez. So they are my re-predictions for F1 2016. So if you have I want to hear about your predictions as well. So if you have any other opinions, let me down in the comments. I'll be very fascinated. But if you like the last video, if you put a comment there having a go at me because I've got an opinion that's different to yours, I'll just remove your comment because it's not relevant. It's not really nice to have a go at someone who has a different opinion to you, because at the end of the day, it's only their opinion. It's not factual. So yeah, guys, that is my F1 2016 re-predictions video. Leave me yours down in the comments. And yeah, so that is it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. I've been JWF1, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Cheers.